New York Jets follow a similar format to 2022 with this draft. Pick 16 to 32, mock 1.0, part 2, coming at you right now. Let's get into it. Kenny C, back on the mic, baby. Last week I told you, mock draft 1.0 part 2 would be dropping next week. Well, it is next week, pick 16 to 32. We're going to get into all of that. I want your thoughts in the comment section below on any and all of my picks. Mock Draft 2.0 will be dropping in April closer to draft day. That's why you will want to hit that subscribe button and lock in so you don't miss a moment. Hit up the TikTok as well at The Kenny C Show. Check out the YouTube Shorts as well. I've been consistent with that every single day. And Kenny C_radio for the Instagram. The New York Jets on the clock here at 16. Darren Muji. I think he follows a similar format to Joe Douglas and what he did in 2022, and I think that is get defense first. He got that in my mock draft with Arvell Reese with the 2nd overall pick, and then I think he comes out here with the 16th overall pick and addresses offense. And I'm going with the wide receiver position, Mekhi Lemon, the Biletnikoff winner, the Fred Biletnikoff winner for 2025, the best wide receiver in the country. He's a slot wide receiver, no Jet. This past year had more than 400 yards receiving. They can use a guy like Lemon. Don't fear his size. Just because he's 5'11", 190, that doesn't mean squat. This guy's acceleration is outstanding. He is not afraid to go up and get balls. Just look at the UMich game, the game against Michigan when they ended up blowing them out. Absolutely mosses the cornerback. Fantastic catch. This is a kid that does this. He does this for a living. 1,516 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns in 2025. He got reps at defensive back as a freshman. This guy is multi-talented. He brings the athleticism. He brings the acceleration. He's faster than fast. Great body control. Great toughness. His comp is to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think this is a guy that if you pair with Adonai Mitchell and Garrett Wilson, and Mason Taylor, the tight end that they drafted last year, they could wreak havoc. You just got to get a quarterback that can actually throw the ball downfield, not named Justin Fields. We'll see what the New York Jets decide to do, but I think this is a can't-miss pick right here and a can't-miss prospect for Gang Green. Let's go on to 17 with the Detroit Lions on the clock. Next on the clock here, the Detroit Lions looking to fill some voids. The offensive line was very up and down last year, did not block nearly as efficiently for Jared Goff. We saw no Frank Ragnow because he retired. Graham Glasnow struggled at center. They do have 2 young guards though, in Christian Mahogany, who they got out of Boston College in 2024, and Tate Ratledge out of Georgia, who they drafted last year in the 2nd round. So there's some upside there with these 2 guys. I think their offensive line, they can also shore up in free agency or later in this draft. Edge rusher, defensive back. Those are 2 areas of need, especially given the health of the secondary last year. It would help for them to get some depth here at that position, but they need to get more pressure, more sustained pressure on the quarterback. If you have guys like Tyleik Williams, who's a great run-stuffing defensive tackle for them, and Aiden Hutchinson, who is a phenomenal pass rusher when he can stay on the field and stay healthy, they need some additional help. And that's why I'm going to Auburn. And I'm getting the 6'6", 285-pound edge rusher, Keldrick Folk. Now, there's a lot of buzz around this guy about whether or not he's a day 1 or a day 2 prospect because of the dip in production. In 2024 for the Tigers, he was phenomenal. 45 tackles, 7 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss. But that was primarily with him coming off of the edge as a as a primary pass rusher. 2025, his production takes a dip, 2 sacks, 29 combined tackles, but context matters here, people. You gotta do your research. That is because of his versatility. They were putting this guy more so on the interior as a 2-tech. 30% of his snaps were played as a 4-tech, rather than having him only come off the edge and rush the passer. But what you're getting here with Keldrick Folk is a guy that has great hand usage, great anchor ability, a guy that can play stout against the run. Go watch the tape. He's coming off of the edge. He's moving through his guy, and he's grabbing at the running back, and he will bring you down. This is a guy that prides himself on his run-stuffing ability. So now if you throw him on the line with Tyreek Williams, these two dudes can wreak some havoc, and with his range, with his length, and his size at 6'6", coming off the edge opposite Aiden Hutchinson, you could have a really solid duo in the NFC North, and that's where I think the Lions need to go here. Get another impact guy for Dan Campbell on the defense, and you can shore up the offensive line later, or free agency, as I mentioned, Connor McGovern, Tyler Linderbaum, Cade Mays. There are guys out there that the Lions can go and spend some money on, but here, I think you take Falk. Let's move on to pick 18. The Purple People Eaters here on the clock at 18, the Minnesota Vikings. Where will they go? Well, secondary, they have two guys that are free agents in Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers. They also have some wide receivers in Jalen Naylor, that is a free agent. I believe they offer the fifth-year option to Jordan Addison. And linebacker Eric Wilson is a free agent as well. They could go running back here. They could go center here because that's a position of need. But defensive back is what sticks out to me. And why wouldn't you go out for Brian Flores and get a guy like Avion Terrell out of Clemson? Guy plays just like his brother A.J. Terrell, who's a premier shutdown corner for the Atlanta Falcons. Both of these guys wore number 8 at Clemson, and both of these guys play a very similar style. They're not afraid to hit you. They play fast. They excel in press man coverage. They will come down and they will hit the running back and they will make plays in the run stuffing department. Avion Terrell at 5'11", 180 pounds. For defensive coordinator Tom Allen at Clemson, this guy was everything. This guy can play inside. He can play outside. Great ball skills. When you go and watch the tape, he's going to go up. He's going to bat the ball away. He has great hand-eye coordination in that department, and you see it on the tape, and you see it when he's coming off of the edge as a blitzer, getting after the quarterback and stripping the football. 8 forced fumbles when his time was all said and done as a Clemson Tiger. He plays with aggression, and that's what Brian Flores loves. Brian Flores loves to be aggressive and bring guys down low in the box, cornerbacks, and have them blitz, and that's what he can do with Avion Terrell. And this guy will excel with flying colors, 125 combined tackles, 3 interceptions. His brother AJ finished his Clemson career with 6, 25 passes defended, 8 forced fumbles, and the 3 fumble recoveries. Avion Terrell will end up being like his brother AJ and will be one of the premier cornerbacks in the National Football League. Minnesota, you got your guy. 19 here, the Carolina Panthers, they're now on the clock. Keep Pounding is on the clock, and indeed, I think they will continue to pound the defensive side of things in the draft. Last year, in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, they went with Nick Scorton, and they went with Princely Umanmielen, and both of those guys are some solid rotational edge rushers, and I don't think they shy away from that rationale this time around. They have some needs on both sides of the ball, yes. Cade Mays should be priority number 1, the center, in re-signing him. Also at wide receiver, Jalen Coker is a free agent. You could get another guy in the draft like Jordan Tyson or KC Concepcion, to add to this pass arsenal for Bryce Young, yes. But defense wins championships, and if they add this guy to their mix, they will have one of the top-tier pass rush units in the National Football League, and that is by getting Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M here. This guy is a beast. He is twitchy as ever, and he plays with tenacity. A 5th-year starter in college, spent time at Bowling Green and at Texas A&M, 9.5 sacks in 2023 for Bowling Green, coming off of a career-high 11.5 sacks for the Aggies. Just go look at his game against Utah State. 3 sacks on 3 plays. That's right. 3 sacks in a row on 3 straight plays. The first player to do that since 2015. This guy has great burst. He has a rush menu like no other. Multiple ways for this guy to get around opposing tackles and get to the quarterback. He's a bendy edge rusher, and his production speaks for itself. 27 sacks for a team that's 8-9 like Carolina, who ended up making the playoffs, came up just shy against the Rams. You want a guy to add to your defense that can get you over the hump. and be able to get at quarterbacks with great ferocity. I'm taking Cassius here if I'm Carolina. And now we go on to pick 20, where the Dallas Cowboys got that pick in the Micah Parsons trade. Here we go. The Big D back on the clock. Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones. What is the move here at pick 20? You got Sonny Styles, your standout linebacker, hybrid linebacker from Ohio State at pick 12. Now you're on the clock at pick 20. For the first time since 2008, you have 2 first-round picks. What is the move? Felix Jones and Mike Jenkins, by the way, were the 2 picks, running back and cornerback respectively, that the Cowboys used their capital on back in 2008, damn near 2 decades ago. We saw them go out and they addressed the running back position by bringing back Javonte Williams on a 3-year, $24 million deal. George Pickens, they have until March 3rd to decide whether or not they're going to use the $28 million franchise tag. It's also yet to be seen if he's going to make a fuss of it, because he's a bit of a diva, so we'll see how that whole thing plays out with George Pickens. But the Cowboys trying to get that done, trying to restructure the deals of Odighizuwa, I believe Dak as well, and Tyler Smith, in order to get their cap space in the right state of mind. The Cowboys can address their defense, though, for new defensive coordinator Christian Parker in this draft. They already did it at pick 12 in this mock for me. Now I think they do it again. TJ Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson. We just saw another fellow Tiger go off the board, Avion Terrell at 18. At 14, I had Peter Woods, the defensive lineman out of Clemson, going to Baltimore. And now TJ Parker, I think, is the guy here for the Cowboys. You have Sam Williams, Jadeveon Clowney, and Dante Fowler Jr., all free agents, right? You have at the right outside linebacker position a guy out of Boston College that you drafted last year, Donovan Ezaraku, in the 2nd round. I think you give him a fellow defensive line mate. Go out and get TJ Parker. He's played on the right side predominantly in college, but you can move him to the left because this guy's got above average handwork. He sets elite edges. He's very, very technically sound. And this is a guy who had 11 sacks in 2024, 19 and a half tackles for a loss, 6 forced fumbles. If you want to know the type of player that TJ Parker is, go back and watch the highlights from the game against Pittsburgh, in which he had 4 sacks and a forced fumble in that game in 2024, making right tackle Jackson Brown simply bow down to him. This guy could not stop him worth a lick. TJ Parker, was relentless. In 2025, he had 5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles, so a slight stat regression, but when you got guys like Peter Woods and Avion Terrell doing what they do, it's high competition. I think that this will be a really good pick, though, for the Cowboys, given the fact that you already have the middle of the field shored up with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark and Oso Odighizuwa. Now you add an edge rusher with 8.5 sacks for Clowney was awesome, but he's aging. Let's be honest, he's over the hill. You bring in a guy in TJ Parker that's young, and you pair him on that line with another fellow young pass rusher in Ezaraku, you got a good thing going on in Dallas. I think they spend both their picks on defense in this draft. Let's go on to Pittsburgh, hosting this draft at pick 21. The crowd's going to erupt with this next pick, in my eyes. Steel City, making your pick in the Steel City. The Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock here at 21. They are looking for some talent on the offensive side of things, if you're asking me. Could you address quarterback? Go Ty Simpson here, maybe. But I feel like next year's class is the time to address the quarterback position. It's still yet to be seen if Aaron Rodgers will come back. Mike McCarthy is the new head coach. The Pittsburgh native is now the new head coach of the Steelers. That leads me to believe that there's some strong incentive for Aaron Rodgers to make one more crack at it at 42 going on 43 years old and run it back with old Mike. So if we go by the hypothetical of that situation, right? If we go by the hypothetical that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, we already saw last season the issues that the Steelers had, i.e., get some receivers for your quarterback, even if it's not Aaron Rodgers. You're going to roll into another season of Calvin Austin as your main wide receiver and Roman Wilson and Ben Skronik. I think Adam Thielen's retiring, so he's gone. MVS, what are we doing here? What are we doing, Pittsburgh? Calvin Austin, I know, is a free agent, as is MVS, as is Scotty Miller. So if you don't bring those guys back, which You're probably going to bring them back on vet minimums, if anything. Calvin Austin, maybe he led the way for you this past season. Maybe bring him back on a little decent deal, nothing too crazy though. But there's glaring holes at wide receiver here. You know where I'm going with this, Steeler fans. Also at the guard position, you got to bring back Isaac Seumalo for sure, because he's another stalwart staple on this offensive line for the Steelers. But I'm going wide receiver here. For the first time in 6 years, the Steelers will use first-round draft capital on a wide receiver. Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame was their pick. Didn't quite pan out back in 2020. But this kid, I feel, firmly will. Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Yes, he had a hamstring injury and only played in 9 games this past season. 8 touchdowns in those 9 games. Do you have any questions about his durability or his toughness? You go back and you watch how he closed out the game against Texas Tech single-handedly for Arizona State. With both hamstrings injured, he refused to check out of the game and single-handedly helped them get down the field, where they then punched it in once he got them inside the red zone. They rushed it in for a touchdown and won that game. Jordan Tyson is Pittsburgh tough, and he is the dude here. He comes from an athletic family. His brother Jalen plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA. Jordan Tyson is 6'2", 200 pounds. His wide receiver coach was Hines Ward, Steeler fans. This is all coming full circle. Hines Ward is the coach that you want if you're a wide receiver. This guy brings everything to the table. He has phenomenal route running, a phenomenal route runner, and he simply knows how to get open. If you go back and watch the tape from 2024 against Kansas State, the guy knows how to get open for the quarterback, and he's not afraid to get down and dirty. In the run blocking scheme, he will go out there and throw a block for you. In the FBS, he was 5th in the FBS for all wide receivers in terms of run blocking snaps. So this is a kid that loves to get down and dirty, get in the trenches, block for you, get open. He's an excellent route runner, as I mentioned, and this is a kid that the Steelers can't pass up on. 1,812 yards and 18 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons for Arizona State as a Sun Devil. Steelers, what are we doing here? Take Jordan Tyson. Next pick, we get the Chargers on the clock at 22. Bolt up, you're on the clock. Joe Horitz, what are you going to do here with this selection? I'll tell you what I think you should do. So you got some free agents. Odafe Owe, who you traded for with the Ravens, he's a free agent. Your guard spot, Zion Johnson, is a free agent. Your center is also a free agent. Your backup guard, Trevor Penning, is a free agent. Justin Herbert, one of the most sacked quarterbacks in all of football. We saw against the Patriots in the playoffs what happened. Are we going offensive line here? Guard center is definitely an area of need. But you also should address the pass rush, given the fact that Khalil Mack is 34 years old and he is a free agent. You want to get somebody on that defensive front, that defensive line, to pair with Tier Tart, don't you? Jim Harbaugh loves his trenches. He loves to build his trenches. They have the 55th pick in the second round, so they can go out and they can address offensive line there, I think, because at this spot, can't miss is Caleb Banks, the defensive lineman out of Florida, also played for Louisville. 6'6", 330 pounds, and you would not know it with this guy's first step quickness. He had an outstanding Senior Bowl. His technique was something of note at the Senior Bowl. He is a behemoth of a man and somebody that Jim Harbaugh would salivate to have. He would be salivating if he had this guy on his defensive line. You can line him up anywhere on the interior, and this guy produces. He's a bull rusher. 2024, he had 21 tackles for a loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 29 quarterback pressures. Caleb Banks is a beast, and I think he will live up to the hype of what his stature is and his production in college. Caleb Banks is my guy here if I'm the Chargers at pick 22. Let's go on to Philly at pick 23. The Guru, Howie Roseman, and the Eagles on the clock here with some needs on the defensive side of things. Howie Roseman is a guy who knows a thing or two about the NFL draft. Tight end Dallas Goedert, he's a free agent. 31 years old, coming off of an 11 touchdown performance He's been a Bird since 2018, 8 seasons with the Eagles, so there's going to be some strong consideration there about whether or not to bring him back. On the defensive side of things, Nakobe Dean, can't let him walk. That guy is a force. Jalen Phillips, he's only 26 years old. You've traded for him. Maybe they bring him back on a good deal, and Reed Blankenship is also a free agent. So there's some areas of need here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas Goedert might want a decent payday. He might want a decent payday coming off of that type of season. He's been an essential part for the Eagles offense. Howie Roseman knows historically how essential the tight end position has been to the success and how integral the tight end position has been to the success of the Eagles offense. From Dallas Goedert, Trey Burton, Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, he knows that it's a valued position, and that's why I think in the draft here, he goes to Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, far and away the best tight end in this class. This kid is a stud. He is a dynamic receiver, and if you look at what Oregon did in their offense with him, specifically having him come in motion and taking tosses to handing the ball off to him even on some plays, this kid has enough speed. If you look at NFL Draft Buzz, they have him at a 4.5 40-yard dash time. We'll see what he does at the combine, but it shows on tape how fast this guy is. Snappy feet, he's great against man coverage. 2025, he had 51 receptions for 560 yards and 8 touchdowns, which led all FBS tight ends in scoring. This guy knows how to catch the football and run with great speed. Now, he does need some work in the blocking aspect of being a tight end. He can hold his own in run blocking, but definitely needs to refine his skills. But I could see this guy being an Evan Ingram type of tight end in the sense that you're looking at him like, this guy is 6'3", 245. Is he a wide receiver? That's the way he moves. He moves with a lot of speed, man. And his comps have been to Trey McBride and Sam Laporta. So if you can get that type of player on your offense, especially with how disgruntled A.J. Brown is and who the heck knows if they're going to trade him, you want another piece to complement Jalen Hurts in that passing attack. You get him a weapon, you go out and you get Sadiq. Andrew Berry in the dog pound back on the clock here, making 2 first-round selections for the first time since 2018 when they got Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward respectively. You took Spencer Fano with the 6th overall pick on my mock here, and now with the 24th overall pick. It's clear to see, if you watched any Browns games last year, that if your tight end is pacing all of your receivers in receiving yards, now is the rookie Harold Fannin Jr., the 3rd-round pick, with 731 receiving yards, it's clear that you need another wide receiver. It cannot just be Jerry Jeudy as your number 1. You need somebody to complement Jeudy. You need a weapon for Shador or Dylan Gabriel or whoever they decide to roll out there at week 1 of the season at the quarterback position. You need another wide receiver, and that's why they got this pick via the trade with Jacksonville, and I think they spend it on a wide receiver in Denzel Boston out of Washington. A 4-year player. He has 4 years of college experience with Washington. Standing at 6'4", 210 pounds, this man is a beast. Who needs speed when you can use your big-bodied frame to go up there like a power forward, box out the opposing cornerback, and grab footballs out of the air? He has great deep ball trackability, 20 touchdowns in 2 years. He is a red zone threat. That's why his comp, NFL scouts have comped him to Puka Nacua, because he is a red zone dog. He will go inside the 20. He will get you a touchdown. He is great through contact. He uses every ounce of his frame. He's the perfect X receiver in my opinion. And in 4 seasons of college ball, 132 receptions, 1,781 yards. Denzel Boston, enough said. Let's go on to Chicago, Chi-Town on the clock with pick number 25. Chi-Town on the clock. Ryan Poles, I think, knows exactly where he needs to go with this pick. When you look at the defense alone, Jaquan Brisker, free agent. Kevin Byard and Nashawn Wright, free agents, both of which were a huge key cog in the Bears defense with takeaways, leading the league in takeaways. They were essential. Braxton Jones on the offensive side of things, their offensive tackle, is a free agent as well. I firmly believe they will bring him back, and they should bring him back But here, Ryan Poles knows, look, our run defense gave up the most yards before contact in the entire National Football League. They were also ranked 31st in PFF's run D grades. They need help up front in the trenches, and that's why a no-brainer pick is Caden McDonald out of Ohio State, the nose guard, tried and true. If you look what he did last year, 8 tackles in a game for the first time an Ohio State Buckeye at the nose guard position had 8 tackles in a game. Since 2012, Jonathan Hankins, the All-American. Hankins did it twice, and McDonald this past season did it twice. Against Texas and Penn State, 8 tackles in those 2 games each. This guy has come out and said, McDonald has come out and said, I am a game wrecker. And if you go and you watch the tape, he's an excellent run stuffer. He's thick, he's athletic. His lower half is just anchored. This kid has strength and an above average technique when he's attacking the run. In 12 games in 2025, he had 52 combined tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. Hankins is someone that can make an immediate impact on this Bears defensive front at 6'3", 326, and say, look, you're not going to push around this front anymore. I think that this is a grand slam pick if I'm Ryan Poles. And let's head on to Buffalo at number 26. At 26, the Buffalo Bills. You got Josh Allen. You have the MVP of the National Football League. Stop giving him the Aaron Rodgers treatment, Brandon Beane, and go out and get Josh Allen, another tried and true number 1 wide receiver. He had Stephon Diggs. That ship has long sailed. Keon Coleman is not the guy. Go out and get him a wide receiver. The Bills have their work cut out for them in free agency. You got Connor McGovern, your center, who's a free agent. Joey Bosa dealt with some injury last year. He's still a quality player. Maybe you can bring him back on some sort of vet deal. At the guard spot, David Edwards is a free agent. Your vet leader linebacker, Matt Milano, is a free agent. So Beane's got his work cut out for him. But somewhere where he doesn't have his work cut out for him is with this pick, number 26 in the first round. This should be a no-brainer, in my opinion, when you look at what Josh Allen has had to deal with last year. Brandon Cooks, who's now a free agent as well, had a pretty solid and serviceable season for the Bills last year. But him, Joshua Palmer's, Tyrell Shavers, and Khalil Shakir cannot be the receiving core that Allen has to work with moving forward. You need to go out there and get him a dog. And that's why you go out there and you get Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. This dude also played at NC State, jumps off the screen. You watch the tape, it's blaring right in your face, the type of acceleration that this kid has. And in 2023, he set records at NC State for receptions in a single season and touchdowns. 71 receptions and 10 touchdowns in 2023. This kid has rare explosive ability. He can play anywhere. You can line him up outside at the X. You can bring him in the slot at the Z. He will produce. In 12 games, he averaged 15.1 yards per catch. That shows you when you go and you watch any route that this kid has run, the acceleration is there. He's going to get the ball in space and make moves. 886 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. As an Aggie, Casey Concepcion is a no-brainer for me if I'm Brandon Beane. And now we move on to the San Francisco 49ers at 27. San Francisco here to make their pick at pick 27. Where I'm looking, you got multiple needs. Wide receiver, Juwan Jennings is a free agent. Guard, Spencer Burford is a free agent. Defensive end, Clelin Ferrell is a free agent. D-line, safety, there's a plethora of needs for the San Francisco team. When you look defensively, linebacker was pretty thin due to injury last year with Fred Warner, who should be back in full strength. You will also get Nick Bosa back for that D-line. But this is a San Francisco defense that could use some help in the back end. When I look specifically at the safety position, Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa, they're 2 safeties that specialize in coming downhill and making plays in the box. If you want a guy that can do it all and not just play down in the box against the run or rush the passer, and somebody that can do it all and have great coverage ability. He can come down and tackle you hard. He can come down and hit you hard, or he can drop in coverage and make plays and excel in coverage. And I'm talking about Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. I know Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo, they're saying he's probably the second best safety next to Caleb Downs, but for the needs of this San Francisco team, I really like what I've seen from Dylan Thieneman. This guy has it all. Plays fluid. He's got great speed at 205 pounds. And when you look at his overall production and where he's been lined up in his career with Oregon and his freshman year at Purdue, he started out primarily at Purdue as a free safety, a guy that can drop in coverage and make plays for you. And he showed that. He produced 106 tackles and 6 interceptions as a freshman. But then you look at his overall production, 1,100 snaps at free safety, 700 plus snaps in the box. He had a lot of nickel responsibilities over his time at both Purdue and then at Oregon. And your GM, San Francisco, is a Hall of Fame safety himself, John Lynch. He knows safety talent. And I think he would recognize the type of production and the type of ability and just rare traits that Dylan Thieneman possesses. And that's why I think he attacks the second level in this draft with this pick and gets Thieneman out of Oregon, the Duck. And now let's move on to the Texans, who have pick number 28. Nick Caserio and the Texans on the clock. Who will he lasso in to become a Texan with this pick? If you're asking me, this decision is a no-brainer. This is like the Bears with getting Caden McDonald to shore up their run defense out of Ohio State. This decision right here is easy money if I'm the GM of the Texans. I know that they have plenty of needs on the offensive line. Trent Brown is a free agent, your right tackle. Ed Ingram, the guard, is a free agent. And with what we saw from C.J. Stroud, with the turnovers that he had in the playoffs against the Patriots and throughout the regular season with the lack of protection for him up front, you got to run to Irsay at left tackle. And I know that this player right here is a left tackle. You could definitely move him to right with the skill set that he possesses. Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. The kid played through a torn labrum for all 12 games and still won the Jacobs Blocking Trophy as the best offensive lineman in the SEC. 6'7", 366 pounds, essentially a brick wall. Once he sets in and he anchors, you are not getting by this guy. He has incredible athleticism for a man of his size. According to NFL Draft Buzz, a 32-inch vertical. The guy squatted 815 pounds. Caden Proctor up front. It might not even be C.J. Stroud, whoever the quarterback is. Proctor up front, Irsay on the other side. You got your bookends for the future right there. Snead back on the clock. He already got his premier cornerback with pick 13 in getting Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee. And now here on the clock, Rob Havenstein, most likely done, retired. Offensive line here for the Rams. You can never have enough offensive linemen. And I know they already have Warren McClendon Jr. and Alaric Jackson on either side as their bookends. But when you look at the offensive line for the Rams, and they could go wide receiver here for sure. They could go wide receiver, and they could get another weapon for Matthew Stafford if he's going to run it back for sure, or the future at the quarterback position. You could address safety here. Maybe you go with McNeil-Warren out of Toledo. You could go at the quarterback position. Maybe you go with Ty Simpson at this pick. But in my eyes, you secure the trenches and you get Spencer Fano's line mate in Caleb Lomo, left tackle, 6'6", 2 sacks allowed over 2 years with 26 pressures, only 26 pressures given up. This guy has uncommon burst for somebody who has taken 782 pass blocking snaps. For somebody of his size to have the type of burst that he has that comes off of the page when you watch the film. And he has traits that take years to develop. When it comes to hand placement, punching ability, and the ability to gather control, those are traits that are rarely ever learned immediately and learned with efficiency off the rip. And Lomo possesses all of those. He blocked for an offense at Utah that put up 587 yards against Colorado, 532 yards against West Virginia, and 582 yards against Cal Poly. This guy is a beast, and I think if you want one of your premier tackles for the future, you get this guy, you develop him further with the Rams, and for LA, this is the pick to go to. Let's go to pick 30 with the Denver Broncos. Time ticking. Broncos country. You guys could go wide receiver here. You could go D-line. You could go linebacker. You could go tight end, interior offensive line, offensive tackle. The Broncos have some areas of need. They already are a pretty complete team. You could add another wide receiver, as I just mentioned, to pair with Sutton, to pair with Vele, and guys like that on this offense for the Broncos. But where I'm looking, the rich get richer when it comes to defense. And C.J. Allen out of Georgia falling to them this pick, you can't miss out on that, in my opinion. JFM on the D-line is a free agent. P.J. Lock, their safety, is a free agent. But the linebacker position gets pretty thin if they don't bring back either Alex Singleton, Justin Strnad, or Dre Greenlaw. And Greenlaw only played in 8 games because of injury. So you do have a hole there at linebacker. I say you go with Allen, who in his first start as a freshman for Ole Miss, or against Ole Miss, 2023, had 9 tackles for a loss and a sack. He is the heartbeat of the Bulldogs defense, and in 2025, he did nothing but produce. In 12 games, he had 85 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. This is a player who absolutely flies like a jet airliner towards running backs in the hole. His sideline-to-sideline speed is unparalleled. And the biggest takeaway, if you just watch a little bit of tape from this guy, he will hit you. And the Denver Broncos defense and Vance Joseph, they love to hit you. And that's why I think Allen is a great fit for this team at pick 30. And at pick 31, we move on to the New England Patriots being on the clock. The New England Patriots, fresh off of a Super Bowl loss to the Seahawks, picking here at 31, as the team that loses the Super Bowl tends to do every single year. And what do they need? Well, you brought in Doug Marrone as your offensive line coach. That should work wonders for Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, the 2 rookies now going into their 2nd year. Why not go out and get some more hogs up front to block effectively for your young quarterback in Drake May? And I think Monroe Freeling, the left tackle out of Georgia, can be the answer for the Patriots, because Morgan Moses is 35 years old. You can move Freeling to the right tackle spot. If Campbell doesn't work out at tackle, you move him, maybe kick him inside to guard, or you try him at right tackle. And if you move him into guard, then you go out and you assess the right tackle position. But I think that Monroe Freeling, standing at 6'7", 315 pounds, can be your guy. Sure, you have some areas of need on the defense. Caleb on Chason, I think they're going to bring back. Jalen Hawkins, the safety's a free agent. And Chris Tonga, the D lineman, needs a contract, or maybe doesn't need a contract, depending on what the Patriots think. Austin Hooper at the tight end spot is a free agent as well. So there's some holes here, but none bigger than the offensive line up front for Drake May last season. 84-inch wingspan for Freeling. This is a long-limbed young man with excellent athletic ability for his size. He's a bit inconsistent in his run blocking ability. He's got some stiff hips, tends to stand up often. But like I said, with Doug Marrone, and you already have your left tackle up front in Will Campbell, this is a kid that can be further developed. But his raw athletic talent alone, I should say, is enough to overlook some of those traits that can be further developed down the line. But Monroe Freeling, I think, here would be a great complement for this Patriots O-line. And the final pick of the 2026 NFL Draft, in the first round, the Seattle Seahawks on the board here, needing some defensive back help, if you ask me. I know Rashid Shaheed is going to be a primary aim and a primary goal, I should say, for John Schneider and bringing him back. Boye Mafe on the defense is also a free agent, but at the defensive back position, it's undeniable that they need to bring back guys or address them in the draft or go elsewhere in free agency. But Josh Jobe, Kobe Bryant, and Tariq Woolen are all free agents. These are guys that are going to want the bag. And I think Devin Witherspoon is even up for a potential restructure, or not a restructure, but an extension, I should say. So there's some work to be done here. But you can get a guy on a rookie deal in this draft out of South Carolina, also played for NC State. I'm talking about Brandon Cisse, the do-it-all defensive back. This kid's played special teams. He can hit you hard, and he is great in man coverage due to his length and speed, his hip fluidity, I should say. Defensive backs coach Carl Scott with Seattle would love this kid. At 6 foot, 190, he's your prototypical defensive back. His arm length stands out on the film, at least to me, with his ability to jam at the line of scrimmage. He's physical off the line, and in 12 games for South Carolina for the Gamecocks, he had 5 pass breakups, 27 tackles, 1.5 tackles for a loss, an interception, and a forced fumble. And in 22 games for NC State, 38 tackles and an interception. I think that this is a guy that you can get for the low, that can get in there in that secondary for Seattle, continue to keep them a dominant defense for Mike McDonald moving forward. And this would just be a great young piece for this defense. If you like this mock draft, if you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. You will want to stay tuned because Mock Draft 2.0 is coming post free agency, post combine. It might sway my draft board, and that's why 2.0 will be coming closer to draft day in April. So you'll want to stay locked in for that. Drop your comments in the comment section below about what you liked about this video, what you maybe didn't like, picks wise, what your picks would be, who you'd pick over mine, or if you like my picks. But let me know your feedback in the comment section below.